Hello there, YouTube. This is Mr. Gibson Guy. Thank you for stopping by the channel. First things first, like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below about this. And today I'm bringing you a video about something that occurred to me the other day, or something that happened and got me thinking about this subject. And I thought this certainly is a decent subject. This goes in the photography department in my school of YouTube videos. There's music videos and motorcycle videos and firearms videos and different stuff, and a whole lot of photography stuff. We're hitting just about 50 now. I think this is like 48 or 49, and getting a couple of videos done in advance and put them on ice here. But if you're new to the channel, you don't know, Mr. Gibson Guy here, as well as playing some Gibson guitars and some other guitars, is also a photographer from back in what I call the golden age of photography, which is when we were using film instead of just electrons of light, or photons of light, I guess. But back from the film days when we worked our own cameras. And part of that whole business of the cameras is the camera market. You can see behind me I have a lot of cameras. I think there's 25 or 26 cameras back there. And mine from various, some of them I've had for 40 years, some of them are pretty new. But I cover the subjects that have to do with film photography, particularly of the manual exposure kind, and about the equipment, the cameras, the lenses, the motors, the flashes, all the stuff that goes with it. And we discuss that here. It's kind of a corner. There's a little niche on YouTube for people that are vintage photography people that like the stories of these cameras from the 1960s and 1970s and 1980s. And there's a resurgence of interest for you young people now, people that were born in the 1990s or 2000s and are interested in going back to film photography because it is different than it is to digital photography. It's a different type of photography and do a different type of pictures. So I'm going to talk about that today, and I kind of got an outline to go from, so I'm going to be watching that, but it'll look like I'm looking at the camera the whole time because I have my notes right in front of me. All right, I've been on this camera collecting kit for about 2 years now. When I started out, it was partly because I was so surprised how inexpensive once very pricey gear had become. Now, the film gear, photography, cameras and lenses and stuff, the prices really fell when everything kind of went to autofocus, and then even more when it went into the digital photography. That kind of put a big hole in it, and everybody thought, well, film's dead. But film's not dead, and it's still around, and more people are discovering that doing photography with film in your camera is very different than doing photography with a light sensor in your camera. And that there's a whole lot to learn about what you can do with film that you can't do otherwise. And there's a lot of things that, of course, we can do with digital, but that's not really the main discussion here. We're looking at the future, which will be very different for these two mediums, okay? A Minolta SRT or a Nikon EM, this is back when I first got back into this a couple years ago, was selling for about $30. That was with a lens. These prices have gradually moved up to $50 and now approaching about $75 for the same camera and lens setup. Mid-range cameras like a Nikon FM or a Nikon FE were under $100, but now ranging from $150 to $200 plus, just in the past couple of years. Pro cameras that were starting around $199 back in those recent days, not too long ago, are now going for $300 to $500. Boy, we wish we could have bought those when we got them for $199 instead of $500. It'd be really worth it. But that price increase is just a beginning, because that keeps going. All right, so then we look at the question, and that's what brought this in here, this subject. Where do you get these discount vintage pieces? Now, I obtained more than half of my inventory just from one source, and that was Goodwill Finds. And the rest I got from eBay, from Mercari, from pawn shops, and various things that I found online. Well, I'm going to tell you about Goodwill Finds. Here's the big news for this video. I recently visited Goodwill Finds and discovered their inventory has suddenly been swept up. They still had the usual stock of digital cameras, but their film cameras were gone. Normally, their stock of Canon gear, if I can move this here, Canon gear, is they'd have a stock of about 500 pieces. Well, today they had 217. That's a big drop. Nikon, there's usually 200 plus. Now, today there is 105. Pentax normally would be around 120. Now they're 54 today. Olympus, which would be a little over 100, like 100, 110, something like that. Olympus is 37 in stock right now. And Minolta, normally in the mid 100s, is now 168. What happened? Well, whoever was doing the shopping for somebody that had a big wallet forgot to look up Minolta. And so all the Minolta stock is still where it usually was. But these other four major brands, they're just vanished into thin air. Which tells me that's why we have to do this video talking about the values of vintage gear, because once the big money starts going into a new commodity like vintage cameras, that is an indication that we're going to experience, it's been noticed that there's a market and the prices are going to start to soar because people are snatching up the merchandise. And that's what I think we have happening here. So here's my observations on it. Maybe I'll set this right there. Okay. There you go. There. All right. All right. Vintage manual focus cameras will continue to be sought out by future generations of photographers. These fine instruments achieve such an advanced level of engineering as well as construction that they will go down in history as the Stradivarius of photographic gear for centuries. Stradivarius is a reference to the Stradivarius violin, which there was about, as I recall, 220 of them made in Stradivarius' lifetime, and they go for millions of dollars. They were made 400 years ago. But it's the most expensive, most valuable violins on earth and have never been matched. Which is kind of like these things here. They were really amazing and they will never be matched. But you can get them still at relatively bargain prices. They were produced in numbers great enough to make them widely available today, and of such robust construction to ensure that they stay functional for centuries. These cams are going to be around. They're not going to go anywhere. Gradually, the numbers will decrease as they get dropped and broken and dripped into the river and wherever they all fall. Hopefully they don't fall out of airplanes, but that gradually the numbers will decline, but by and large they will stay available. But they're always going to be getting more valuable because they're getting older and the value goes up. Film photography and digital photography are very different, meaning digital serves another format of photography rather than a replacement. While digital will continue to improve, all serious photographers will continue to incorporate film along with the digital mediums as their photography requires it. Any decent photographer is not just going to be using one of these things. They're going to use film cameras too. And that'll be the same in 100 years, except in 100 years they won't be using a Nikon D5200, but they will be using a Nikon F3 that will be 140 years old and that they paid a fortune for, but it's what they use for their film photography when it's called for. The existing fleet of 20th century 35mm cameras and lenses will continue to serve the photographic community while their prices will continue to increase. Now I'm currently 71 years old for a few more months, so it would be pointless of me to entertain the prices of cameras 50 years from now. I won't be around, and I know that, and I can live with that. Well, I guess you can't live with that, but that's just expected. But I'm in good health, and prices in 10 to 15 years would be a reasonable thing for me to consider. How long do I want to live before I sell my gear? I have a camera store, and I've been selling camera gear, and I have gear that I sell. My idea was buy a piece of camera gear, and if you like it, keep it. If it doesn't do that much for you, put it on eBay and sell it. And I do. I have a whole bunch of sales. I've sold about as much stuff as I have in the cabinets now, and still have stuff for sale. But a lot of it I don't want to sell. I want to keep it. But you can't take it with you. So I have to keep it until I get to where it's getting near my time, and then I'll sell it and take some more money in. So my estimates for a working camera and lens in 10 to 15 years would go like this. For the consumer grade cameras like a Pentax ME, Minolta XG series, Nikon E series, Olympus OM10s, Canon AT1 or AV1, I would say in the 10 to 15 year from now range, they'll go $200 to $400. That's better than you could get for it selling it today. If we go to the step-up models, like a Pentax ME Super Program, Minolta X700 or X570, Olympus OM1 or OM2, Nikon FM, FE, FA, Canon AE1 programs or an A1, I would put the kind of semi-professional cameras in the $450 to $900 price range in 10 to 15 years. And these guesses are actually conservative. Everything could be $1,000 more. Now for the real pro models, and I would include the Pentax LX, Minolta XK Motor Drive, Olympus OM4 Titanium, Nikon F, F2, F3, Canon new F1. 10 to 15 years from now, I'm going to guess that those are going to be in the $1,000 to $2,500 range. Could be more, depends on the rate of inflation between now and then. That's something that as people that are watching this today are very familiar with. It could all end up being much higher. Suddenly, instead of 1,000 to 2,500, it might be 5,000 to 10,000 for a Nikon F3. I don't know. But I would expect the 1,000 to 2,500 for a pro camera and lens to be a standard in that time period, 10 to 15 years. So now once the year 2050 rolls around, these prices could be astronomical. Of course, it's not going to affect me because I won't be selling anything at that point, 2050. But if you are under 30 and you start collecting these cameras today, keep them working and keep them in a safe place, because they may be worth a fortune to you by the time you get old and can't enjoy it anymore. I can enjoy it still. So that's just a look at what the possibilities are. You don't have to open an eBay store right now, but if you are enjoying photography, you might want to take care of your camera, keep it lubricated, your film camera, and keep it dry. Don't drop it in the water. Keep the dust off of it and take care of it and enjoy it. Keep it going, because these things are, well, let's say if you're somebody that's under 30, you might want to consider keeping your photographic gear for your grandchildren, because when they go to sell it, oh, it might be worth $1 million. But tell me what you think about that. This is Mr. Gibson Guy. Thanks for stopping by. All the stuff that I said at the beginning, glad to have you here again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.